What's going on, family? Thank y'all for joining me on another episode of Abandoned Voices. Joining me today, the lovely Miss Ginnell Brady.
That's right.
Did I say that right?
You said it right.
I said that right. And Miss Ginnell Brady is, you know what? Let me not tell you a story. You tell your own story. What's going on with you, Miss Ginnell?
I am doing well in spite of the weather. Cold weather is not my friend, but I have this little company I named Mammys.
And she's dressed in costume to her company. Just not everyday wear.
Sometimes it's everyday wear if I'm doing this every day. But I really dress like this because if I'm going to talk about my ancestors, I have to wear the clothing that they would have worn. So it's very rare that you will catch me doing my thing without one of these outfits on. I have to dress the part.
So we talk about ancestors. You help people like find out the family tree. You go way back from now till
I go far
1950.
as our trees will let us. My thing is, when I started doing genealogy, I saw it was like mostly like a lot of old people. It's like an old person hobby, and I was like, the thing that really got me was when I was doing my own family tree, and I realized some of the people I need to talk to, they recently passed away. So I was like, man, if we could start this a little bit earlier, if I would have started this like in my 20s perhaps, I would have been able to have some of those conversations. So
connect some more dots, huh?
Yeah, and it's like I have all these missing pieces and then all of these stories that I need to find out about.
What made you want to find your family history? Something happened? You just woke up and said, you know what? I want to know who my great-great-great-great-grandmother was.
I actually started this, I would say I've always been that child that always wanted to know stuff, and so
a nosy kid, huh?
I was a nosy kid, and you know what? I got it back because I have some nosy kids. So I went to my grandma, and my question was like, Grandma, were you a slave? And she was like, no. And I kept asking her all of these questions, but y'all, I did the bad thing. I started asking my grandma questions at 11 o'clock on Monday through Friday, which was a bad idea. Young and Restless is on. So
and not coming past Victor Newman.
Nothing. I mean, Victor was almost a relative, so
and everybody else.
So I just started digging, and then when I had kids of my own, and I was just like, I want to know more about where I came from, and I always knew my dad's family still in the same area. I just didn't realize my great aunt was still living on a plantation in the 90s. So I wanted to figure that out.
So living on a plantation, like being a slave.
It depends on how you want to define the word slave, right?
So she was.
So she was still living on the land that my family lived on for multiple generations. She owned her house on that land. She doesn't have any descendants. There are still relatives living there, but she pretty much worked for that family until she died.
Even though she owned her own house on the land, but she still worked for that family.
Still worked for that family. But my great aunt Alice, I called her like just a genius. Even though she still worked for this family, Aunt Alice started her own business. So she owned, through her husband, she owned the bar and lounge next door to her house.
All right.
All on the same land.
Oh, so she worked from within.
Yeah. But Aunt Alice, according, I guess, another reason why I started doing this is because I started learning these women were brilliant. I mean, Aunt Alice, when I talked to my dad about her and those who knew her, she, although she worked for this family, she poured money into her business. And from the very beginning, she was supposed to turn over some of her profits, but her numbers never quite added up to what they thought it would be. She always knew to put a little bit, she wasn't as stupid as they thought she was.
Exactly.
So that's the part that really got me.
To catch a sucker, you gotta play a sucker.
Exactly. So they thought they had her. But again, her land is still there. Her husband's bar is still there. And she stayed on that land long after they killed him. So for a woman to be able to stay in the same area with the people that killed my husband, I was just like, man, this lady here.
Hold up. The land she lived on, the people she worked for killed her husband.
Allegedly. It wasn't proven. But this is similar to all of these small town Louisiana stories.
What year this took place?
In the 50s.
Oh, in the 50s, yeah. It happened.
It happened in the 50s, right? And it's kind of interesting how some of the same things that I, have seen in the 50s, the 40s, and the 30s, we're experiencing it in 2019. So that really made me want to do what I do in terms of like, hey, I need some of these skill sets in order to help my people the same way all of my grandmothers and aunts were able to help our family back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I started studying their lives, and the more I did that, the more I started sharing their stories. Because that's where we find all of our strength from. We find it on our family tree somewhere.
So what do you think the benefits of knowing how far you come back and with your dad and stuff like that? Some people just don't want to know,
Mm-hmm.
They say, either side of mine,
Mm-hmm.
what you don't know won't hurt you, or whatever. So some people don't want to know about their slavery past, or
Mm-hmm.
how far back the ancestors was, So what's the benefits of
I would
figuring
say,
it out?
for me, the benefit, and I'll tell you one situation that I had not too long ago. So back in 2016, I had my son, and I had horrible postpartum depression. I mean, to the point to where I didn't even want to come out of a room. And my husband knew that I love my family history so much. He took me to the land where my family first, when they came to Louisiana, where they first lived. And from that point on, when I stepped out of that car, I told my husband I was better. I wanted to go home. I'm fine now. But I felt like that strong presence. I felt like that love of family that you get, that support that you needed, but on a spiritual level. And for me, that was all the healing that I needed at that time. And just like to know that who you are. And the fact is, it's kind of funny. We don't even realize we're actually living like our ancestors. There are things that we're born that we know how to do. And it's simply because it was embedded into our DNA. Like, for example, my dad and my brothers are both carpenters, builders, contractors.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was doing genealogy, I learned that I think it's my third or my fourth great grandfather, one of them was an engineer on a plantation.
So like inherited now.
We inherited, but we wouldn't have known if I didn't look it up. So it's kind of like you don't know what skills you may have embedded inside of you until you start poking around. There's some people who can cook like no other. And
don't know how they able to cook like that.
Don't even know. Never was taught. Just get in the kitchen and just start baking cakes that'll make you want to bite your fingers. And it's simply because somebody on your tree had did that before. And it's not even just within this country. We were doing these things before the first ship arrived. So to me, it's kind of like honoring them. If I learn about what they did, and if I was blessed with that same skill set, I'm carrying it on in spite of everything that they endured. They didn't take that away from them. So for me, that's power into that. It's like even my little cousins and my son, it's like, your grandfather was an engineer at a time when black people were told that they were stupid. So just imagine, you are all interested in engineering and you see where that comes from. It empowers them like, man, I can do this. Exactly. And so my son went to engineering camp 3 years in a row. He's like, I want to be an engineer, Mama. I'm not going to stop until I'm one.
I know just like a lot of older people are into like finding their family history and stuff like that. But do you like ever run across like younger people, like teenagers or early 20s?
We're getting there.
That kind of want to know.
We're getting there thanks to organizations like Black ProGen. There's a group, I would say, like, some of them are young. I will consider myself kind of like on the upper end of that group. And then I just work with Yael Gordon, and we're trying to work with some other charter members to start our own Louisiana African American Genealogy Society. So with that society, our goal is to bring others into the field. Because one of the issues that I'm starting to experience, even on a personal level, when we go to the courthouses to pull our family records, they're gone. They're burned. They're missing. So we get more people into this.
Things on purpose? Or just...
Of course it's on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
Because how about if you find out your family owns 40 acres in Alexandria? First thing you're going to say is,
I want my acres.
I want my acres, and right now.
Right, I want my acres like yesterday.
But if you don't have the court records.
Oh, it makes sense.
So that's another reason.
Whoever owns the acres right now is theirs.
Yes, mine. Bring me my stuff. Hold on. And I even know of some cases, like on another person's tree, I remember, they actually found out they own land in Plaquemines Parish. And the court was like, well, where'd you get this document from? But it was passed down from person to person.
So they're asking...
Yeah, so they're like,
where the
this is
document
ours.
comes from. Instead, that's not irrelevant. relevant is
this is mine.
This is mine. If you find out where it come from later, but this is mine.
This is mine.
But they trying to.
All of y'all need to leave because this is mine. In fact, this belongs to me and my siblings. So
interesting. I never thought about.
You got to think about it from their perspective, because even in the lower 9, we had so many people to own houses over there, but after Hurricane Katrina, we all dispersed. So we go 2 generations down the line. Wait a minute.
For big grandma.
Yeah, what grandma? Wait a minute. Why is this house on grandma's land? Wait a minute. Where are the succession documents? Hold on.
Oh, it makes sense now.
Hold on. I need all of this. Because you know how it is in New Orleans. That's why I tell people, buy up everything you can. Put the shoes aside, buy your land, because that's that thing we could pass on.
Exactly.
We could pass that on. And our ancestors did the same thing. When they were emancipated, the first thing they said, we need education and we need our own land. We need our own tools, because if I'm using master's tools, he's going to take most of my profits. But if I got my own cane knife, hey man, look, I'll cut this down, but we're going to split this a little bit differently. So, I mean, that to me, if you could look at it from the motivational aspect, or you could look at it from the financial aspect, we may be sleeping on something that's ours.
And paying rent for something, or mortgage for something that's roughly yours. You know what? I never thought about it like that.
You have to. And I mean, it's very simple. Once you get that census document, and you see that letter O is next to grandpa's name instead of R for rent, O for owner. Well, hold on. Let me chase this paperwork. Because what happened after grandpa? Did y'all take it?
Exactly.
Where's the paperwork when you took it? Hold on. Did you take it legally? So it's kind of like, wait a minute.
When people run to stuff like that, you help them with that, or that's when the coach get involved?
Well, the thing is, I call myself a genealogy hype girl. So I could teach you the basics. I could get you started.
Point you in the right direction.
And I send you on to other people who I consider genealogy experts. But I really just want to get people interested. My whole thing is, my focus, my passion, my love is kids. And teaching children about our history. And I can do genealogy. And when it's time, I'll teach you the basics. I'll teach you how to use museums for genealogy research. But I will help you. If I see that there's something, wait a minute, I'm stuck. Well, hold on. I don't know the answer to this, but let me point you in the right direction. I just want us to start taking back what's ours. And I want us to start, like, honoring our ancestors. Like, people don't go to the cemetery unless it's a funeral. But we all know we'll be hurting our heart if we go there and somebody stole grandma's headstone and turned it in for metal. And I've seen that too many times.
Oh, you can turn headstones in for metal?
You know the little bronze ones? Yeah.
I never knew that.
They all come up missing. I saw my grandma's was missing. Somebody took my grandfather's. That's a new thing now. You go and rob the graves. And you won't know until you go back for the funeral. Another funeral. So you got to go in there and say, hold on. Who's managing this spot? Because it'll hurt you to your heart. If somebody took mama's bronze stone, you done took your money and paid for it. But we don't go to a cemetery unless it's a funeral. And that's not how our ancestors did that. We showed up on All Saints Day. We showed up on birthdays. We checking on you. Because the way that we were taught is that our ancestors are always with us. Right, so it's kind of like if grandma watching me and I'm not taking care of business, you feel that sense of guilt. Like, hold on,
right.
Let me straighten up, grandma. I'm sorry. So...
The black grandmas have power, even in the dead. You're still scared.
You're still scared. And that's the thing. People say, why in the world would you name a company Mammys? Are you crazy? And I said, no. I did this to honor the women who were told that they were less than. These are the women today, even though the word is Mammy, that's mama. And if you look at it, if mama, big mama, grandma, mama pass away, everything fall apart. Everything fall apart. So this lady who we were taught was this happy-go-lucky, submissive woman, that doesn't sound like the grandmas we were all raised with. My grandma would tear your hindquarters apart with the Daniel Green slipper. So it's kind of like, well, who is this woman you guys are defining? Because this isn't the woman that I know. This isn't the woman that I grew up around. Like, when my grandma passed away, you couldn't get into Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church. Because my grandma pretty much raised the neighborhood. Everybody knew Miss Landry grandkids. It's like, these women were powerful women. And they knew how to stick together. That's the thing that I want us to get back to. You have a baby, you're not alone. But we gonna all help take care of this child. What you need? Hold on, we coming. Without any judgment.
And you also can find out, like you said, a lot of family members that may be living that you didn't know was related to you.
Not at all. Not at all. And that happened to me, right? So that's why I said I wish some of my great aunts were around, because it really helped me when I took a DNA test. Mm-hmm. My DNA test opened up some, I call it Pandora boxes. I found out my grandmother's grandfather wasn't her daddy. I found out like all kinds of stuff. Like, wait a minute. So I found a bunch of new relatives through DNA, like people who were separated through slavery were being brought back together through DNA testing. And you know, and DNA has its pluses and minuses. People say, oh, you're putting your information in a database. But for me, finding a family that was like lost to this institution of chattel slavery, if I could find those people and connect those dots again, it's worth that sacrifice. If I go to jail for committing a crime, they're going to take my DNA anyway. So.
I'm always asking, like, you put in a database for what? Somebody gonna stick your DNA? Mm-hmm. It's already there anyway.
It's there. And again, like I said, when people go, if you go to prison, they take your DNA before they let you out of state and federal prison. So, but hey, let me do it for my reason, not because of what you want to do with it.
Exactly.
So.
You ever find any white people that want to do history research?
I find, as far as my own family tree, you find all your white cousins.
Go ahead, you know, I forgot all the raping going on.
Yeah, you got to deal with that. So some of them, you know, they're like, whoa, okay. Yeah, I'm from that area. Is your, family name this? Yeah, my family name is this. Okay, hey, cousin. And I leave it at that. Like, I'm letting you know I know. Because there's no way we should be full cousins. Unless, well, you know what happened.
Unless your great-great-great-papa.
Yeah, touch my grandma.
Touch my grandma.
Yep. And and a lot of them, I had a lady to come up to me at a presentation crying because she took a DNA test and she found out she was not white, she was black.
Oh, a white lady was crying.
Oh, white lady was crying, crocodile tears.
Because she found out that she was black.
And she said, you're teaching me so much about my history because my family didn't tell me. I wasn't even raised where my family originated from. They took her way up somewhere around the Baton Rouge area, and she was originally from St. Bernard of Clackamas Parish. So it was just like, wait, what? You're what? And looking at her, you would assume she was white. So that kind of threw that out of the window too. So they're starting to have to adjust.
Exactly.
As well as just like we have to adjust. Like,
it's kind of like we already know. We don't know, but we know.
We know.
They think that they're just 100% white or whatever, so they find out it's like a rude awakening. But that's like,
I'm black. How do I deal with the slavery thing, baby? You just gonna suck it up like the rest of us and learn what happened and just
keep on pushing. That's it.
And keep on pushing.
See somebody else.
So she's like, oh, my husband's like, he said, baby, she was crying to you. She was just crying to me 10 minutes ago. And I'm like, it's okay. She's gonna be okay. But I just really want people to get into genealogy. I want people to teach their kids. I don't want like the only place we learn about our history is at school. And I want kids, when they hear it and they hear it incorrectly, to challenge what they're being taught.
I was about to say that school's not the place to. Well, you can learn it, but of course they leave some things out. And
of course,
they won't dig as deep.
They won't dig as deep,
and they could teach you anything.
That's the issue. They're teaching them anything. And so I remember one time my son got into a heated argument in kindergarten when the teacher was like, yeah, because Abraham Lincoln was a great president, he freed the slaves. And my son argued like, sir, hold on, that's not exactly true. You have to look at the Emancipation Proclamation. And so they were like, wait a minute, how did this child know about this? Because he's being taught that. My son grew up in a museum in Donaldsonville, so he was taught his history early on, which makes him a force. And see, we empower our children when we tell them like, hey, this isn't who you are. You're behaving like somebody that you're not. So if you don't know who you are, it's kind of like you're behaving like something else. And you can't do that because you're instantly at battle with yourself. Like I said, grandma's always watching. So you really shouldn't do that, but it's happening. And I've noticed it more and more often on social media where I see all of these exercises that they're doing in history classes with. I need you to answer this math question dealing with the slaves. How many slaves does it take to, hold on, sir, Do you realize you're talking about people? Let's deal with some of your ancestors' stories and some of their pain, and to see how you feel about that.
Anybody ever like try to like stop you from doing this?
Oh, absolutely. I get it from both ends.
I thought the answer was no. You was like, absolutely.
I get it from both ends.
Both ends.
I get it
why
from
the black side first?
I get it from the black side for the reason
I
of why
understand
you
the white
bringing
side
up the
a little bit.
past. Why you bringing up the past? I mean, why would you want to talk about slavery and Mammy? You bringing us back 100 years. You're damn straight I am, because it seems that we lost something along the way. So we have to go back and correct some of this. And why are you letting somebody tell you how to define who your grandmother was? So I said, no, and I had one guy say, I can't stand to be around all of that stuff. A baby doll? You can't stand to be around a baby doll dressed up, as I would say, as my grandma. If I didn't mention Isabel London Jefferson's name, no one wouldn't even know who she was. So how can a baby doll bother you? I encourage all children to turn to their family tree and honor the woman who they called Mammy. Just because they called her Mammy, we knew who she was. So let's tell people who she really was. In fact, my husband sometimes vets my calls, because I get so many people coming at me from so many ends, but I don't focus on them. I focus on that little old lady that comes up to me.
I mean, is that hard? I mean,
yes.
People come at you like that?
Yes.
Because are you trying to...
Yes. What are you teaching the kids? I'm teaching them their history. Their history. You have kids sitting in the classroom not even knowing their cousins.
I would never know that it had that much hate behind...
Yes.
Trying to teach people... Well, I'd say I can understand the white side.
Mm-hmm.
Not all white people like that, of course, but I can understand some of the people that's, don't want you to know certain things because of certain reasons. I get it. But for us black folks, I can't see people, not like just don't, well, I'm cool with it, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
But for us hating, I don't understand, like,
yeah.
I might be like, I
you don't need to
but
dress
I don't
like
want to
that.
do it.
Oh yeah, I get it. You don't need to dress like that to teach history. Why? So you telling me I can't teach kids about
It's more
Mammy?
relatable. It's more relatable than just like that.
I get more questions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You dressed in 2019, talking about 1950. It balance out, but it don't balance out. When you dress like that, it make it more relatable. It make it more, and it make people come to you and look at you like, why she like that? Like, you actually pull them in like that.
I pull them in, and that's all I want to do. I don't want to have a 5-minute conversation.
Get some tights and some red bottoms on. The conversation's not gonna be about 1950s.
No, it's not.
It's gonna be like, girl, where you get them shoes from?
Exactly. And honestly, I've had that. And then even I've had, like I said, I focus on the little old lady that comes up to me and gives me a hug as tight as she can and say thank you. So I focus on them. But on the flip side, I've had white people come up to me and say, thank you for being brave enough to talk about your history. I know it's painful, but keep going. And here's something to help you along the way.
Wow.
So
every day guilt, huh?
Hey man, whatever
Here's
works.
something to help me on the way. I done dug it up. I know my grandpa was here you go.
Yeah.
Hey,
and it works. Whatever works. I was frustrated yesterday, because I'm fighting. My company is growing, so I am in a position where I'm starting to reorganize everything, and I'm literally fighting folks just because I want to do things a little bit differently and take this to the next level. But even yesterday, I had this breakdown moment where I'm in there crying, like, all I want to do is tell us stories of these people. That's it. And I'm having this battle over my name. The name Mammys bothers people. And it's so interesting how that bothers people when we live in a state where we go to plantations without a problem.
Exactly.
We pay high dollars, and they always say, now, have you been to such and such plantation? Hell no, I'm not paying to go back to where we got off of. No.
Anybody ever said why the name bothered them so much?
Because
I can get it not like the name. I don't like it. I don't want this, but it's cool. What you're doing is cool. But why the name hurt
because
so much?
we were taught to let it bother us, right? If I say certain terms or if I say certain things that came out of the Jim Crow era, it would bother you right now. Like, oh, all black people eat watermelon. Or black people love fried chicken.
Right.
See those things like your face, like, wait, hold on. Because we were taught that, right? So all of this came out of that period right between Reconstruction and Jim Crow era. You were taught that black people always eat watermelon. You're right, we did. And I am so proud that we eat watermelon, because it was the smartest thing we could have done on that plantation. Imagine if you're out in the field, sweating bullets, And you got some watermelon growing in the field, because we smart. We planted the watermelon in the field. I got instant water, man. And I'm going to be happy that I got something to drink, because you done starved me all day.
Water and fruit.
Come on. So it's like, yep.
I was thinking them.
Thank you.
So they run around like, but they didn't know the benefits of the watermelon. Watermelon was keeping people alive.
Mammy knew. She knew. But the problem is we're taught to hate the things that empowered us. So it's like we got to pick a big old fat eraser and erase that and look deeper into, wait a minute. Who was Mammy? She was our doctor. She's our cook. She's our caregiver. She's the one that's always there. Like I always tell people, Big Mama phone number don't change. It don't change. Our number may change once or twice. Grandma, I can still remember my grandma's phone number, and it's been off 945-5267. It don't change. My grandma been gone since the early 2000s. That number still the same forever.
You have always been called, like your company has always been called Our Mammy?
It's always been called Mammys, but I am now in the process to where it will now be called Our Mammys.
Oh, okay.
Simply because, like I said, we're growing. We're secured some property. We're about to make it where people can walk through and have a conversation with their children about their past. And it's not going to all be slavery, right? I'm going to move us into Reconstruction and the Civil Rights Movement.
But first, you gotta give people where it all come from.
We got to start somewhere.
You got to start at the beginning, trying to explain how we get where we at now.
And I want to get to the point to where I learn more about the African nations where my family came from. Like that's always my goal. I'm waiting for the day that somebody in Africa takes a DNA test and we match, because it's happened for people. And I want that experience. And as soon as I get that, I'll tell that story too. This is where I originated from. I have my ideas, I have some assumptions, but I want to make sure that, as a historian, I want to make sure that I'm telling the truth, that I have that evidence to say, hey, this is where my family come from. I want to talk about this group. So I hope that everybody else can feel that. I hope that everybody else can take the time, once you find out, that go and learn the languages of your nation. Go and learn all about these places where our family came from. But for now, all I know is the parishes where my family came from and the various plantations that many of them served on. And nothing hurts you to the core and wakes you up than standing on the land where your family's still buried without any names on their headstones.
Wow.
Just a plot or just a vault. It's a wake-up call. And that was another reason why I did this. Like, one of my goals is to be able to put some names on those things, to actually buy some headstones and some markers to actually mark their place on this earth. So, the things that they built, they're still standing. All the buildings, all the ironwork and the French Quarter and all that stuff, those places are still standing. But I just want people to walk past it and remember that person's name.
And know who actually built it.
Absolutely. So I'm hoping that more people will do this. I hope that some people can get past the name and even just like dig deeper. Just stop dealing with the surface. I want people to like look at something a little bit deeper. Like, come on, man, we eat certain foods, collard greens, soul foods, because we had access to. And grandma was brilliant enough to put all those things together and make a meal. The same thing we do now if our kitchen is low. Hold on. Well, I got some rice.
Man, I just seen women go in the cabin and make nothing. It's a full course meal. Like, I thought we had nothing to eat.
Exactly. And it's because it's embedded in our veins. We're not going to starve. We're resilient people. You can't starve us. You couldn't even kill our history, even though we didn't write it down. I mean, it just amazes me how our culture prevails. That's why I have this love-hate relationship with my state, right? I love the way that we preserved our culture through word of mouth. I love the way that we still do some of the same things that we used to do. I love to see like the second lines roll on Sunday. I love that. I think it's beautiful. It just reminds me of that day they had off and what we did to preserve our culture one by one. And I think that's amazing. And it still lives hundreds of years later. And it's kind of like we take it for granted because we grew up in it. We don't understand what we're doing, and understanding that many of those second line organizations, they come out of those social aid and benevolent societies. That was our insurance back in the day. That's how we buried each other. That's how we paid for our medical expenses.
Wow.
But we kind of lose that piece in the pleasure part. We forget that benevolent part of it.
Forget the meaning of it.
Yeah.
Just right.
So the other stuff was passed on, but we lost that piece of, well, let's put our money together and get this property. We lost that piece of it. So I'm hoping through, everybody doing their own research that we'll come back to it, because we're going to need those skills very soon, if not today. We're in a situation where our kids are in failing schools, and so we got to go back to the time when we built our own schools, or either we were at the PTA meeting with that same energy that we're everywhere else. That's what I want us to remember about Mammy. Not so much, oh, she was this big happy woman. You playing a happy slave. Shh. Y'all don't know. Mammy was smiling at me because her back hurt, and she was just making it happen. A lot of people, push through, and sometimes, that those thoughts of mine comes through on my little blog, but I just want people to just dig deeper. And the things that they teach you to love, just look at it a little bit closely on, like, why are you teaching me to love this?
Exactly.
What is it? Wait a minute. Is this taking me further away from where I should be? Like, I want people to just really start paying attention to things, like, and embrace who you are. At the end of the day, you can't be something you're not.
I still don't see why people hate it. But not hate, but you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't get it.
It's
I can see
real.
people not liking it, or like just don't. No, I would see people not understanding it and just don't mess with it because they don't understand it. But to come at it in a negative way, like, what are you doing? But trying to teach you who you are. Trying to help you find out who you are. Like, I don't get it.
We get emails.
Unless people just don't want to know who they are because they,
Sometimes they don't, right? Like, this one guy, he was like, oh, my family, my grandma used to take me on the plantation all the time. Okay. It's the one where our family came from. Okay. And I can't believe you want us to talk about this. Okay. Like, what are you angry about? I can't change what happened to us.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. It's not like you actually doing something.
No.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I have to ask somebody when I run across somebody who don't like it. Ask them why.
But that's the thing. Even if you take the things I brought up, what's the deal with the watermelon? How you feel about, black folks eating watermelon? What's the deal with Mammy and all these other people? People gonna tell you the stereotype things that we were taught.
Taught to say, right?
And little by little, we're gonna get them to realize, like, wait a minute. You do realize Mammy is your grandma, right? You do realize people always try to make it seem like we're thousands of generations removed. Hey,
no, we're not.
We're not. We're literally not. Like, if you add in the civil rights movement and everything else, that you do realize my grandmother left the plantation when she was pregnant with my father. And this is no lie. My grandma left the plantation in 1947.
Right.
I am one flipping generation removed. And if you count how my dad had to struggle to make sure that my brother and my sister and I went through college, coming from the country, hey man, my kids are the first set of kids that are kind of sort of stress free, but still I have to teach them about, hold on, where you going, who you going with, what time you coming back, be careful. I still got to have these 1960 conversations.
Yeah, we all do.
In 2019. Put your phone on, call me if something go wrong. It's like, come on. So we're not there yet. But, and again, like I said, we need those same skill sets. We need the same skill sets, because we're in a state of terror right now with everything going on. So I'm sorry if Mammy bothers y'all. It will be our Mammy, because I want them to understand that she isn't just mine. She raised y'all too. Mammy literally raised everybody in this country in one way or the other.
Well, let me give you a little bit of advice from my end. When you got haters, then you got something good going.
Okay, I'll take that advice.
I ain't got no haters. I can't wait till I get some haters.
You don't think you have no haters?
I can't wait till I get some haters. If you don't got nobody hating on you, that means whatever you're doing is not working. I think what I'm doing is working, but my haters ain't come yet. So my haters come, and it's verified even more for me that, oh yeah, I'm doing something.
All you gonna need
so
is
take your haters and you just like, you know what, that's motivation. Because the more you got, like you said, the more money, the more problems.
Okay.
The more haters you got, that's the better, the faster you moving, the better you moving, the more people see you.
Absolutely, I'm gonna take that advice.
Nobody hate on nobody if you ain't do nothing.
Right.
If you're not moving somewhere, doing something, like, hate on you for what? Well, she ain't nobody.
You're right.
They only hate on you because they see your growth. They see where you're going.
And that's the thing. My mission is just to teach kids. If I could teach kids to love themselves, I think some of the problems that we have, they're gonna go away. And that's the bottom line. We can't keep going at the rate we're going right now. But yeah, I have my little collection of gators. I do.
So how you get what's your Instagram, your Twitter, your Facebook, all that good stuff? Your website?
Instagram, I'm at Our Mammys. Twitter, Our Mammys. If you want to email me, good or bad mail, ourmammys@gmail.com.
So everything's our
Everything
Mammys.
is Our Mammys. Yep, we're out there, and you will see it.
So our Mammys Facebook, Our Mammys Instagram, Our Mammys Twitter, ourmammys.com.
Yep.
We keep it nice and simple, huh?
I keep
Some
it
people
simple.
have it one way, this way, that way,
Nope.
that way.
Keeping it simple. Keeping it simple. And come and see me on MLK Day. I'm going to be in the lower 9th Ward cleaning up. So
MLK Day.
MLK Day. We're going to have a neighborhood cleanup on January 20th from 9 to 12. I'm going to even treat you to breakfast.
It's my birthday, January 20th.
MLK Day. We're going to clean up the lower 9. So
January 20th is my birthday. So
all right.
Clean up on my birthday, huh?
We're going to clean up the lower 9 on your birthday.
Heard
That's
that.
happy birthday.
What a birthday present.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
And don't you have like sometimes you set up like certain like those little areas?
Yes.
Like little vendors?
So I'm hoping to, for MLK Day, depending on how everything goes, I may set up a little activity for everybody to do to get you started on your family history and stuff. So
is that expensive to do?
no, you can start a family tree on
you see the
FamilySearch.org.
Ancestors.com type stuff, maybe $59.99.
That's if you want to do the DNA test. You could do a family tree on Ancestry for free. You can do a family tree at FamilySearch.org for free.
Okay.
You can in the public library lets you use Ancestry for free. Use your library. And a lot of the tools that you need to do genealogy through New Orleans Parish Library, you can do for free with your library card right from home. Yeah, come on out. Hopefully I have some genealogy workshops on the lower 9th Ward coming up really soon. So stay tuned. Check me out on Facebook or on my website. Hopefully I can point you guys in the right direction. But it's time for us to get moving.
Get moving. There we go.
We're going to do the cleanup on January 20th. Happy birthday. Do we need to bring cupcakes?
I take king cake.
King cake. Wait, is it? Yeah, you can. Yeah, we can have king cake then. Yep. We're past the house.
It's crazy. I'm not really a cake eater.
Yeah.
But for my birthdays, my mama's brought me king cake.
All right, we're gonna have some. We're gonna have some king cake. All right, I need some donors for big, huge pieces of king cake.
Heard that.
So
well,
thank you so much. This has been a pleasure.
Oh, no, pleasure's all mine. Thank you again for helping people, helping me understand a little deeper. You know, and hopefully people who watch this want to actually find that land they got. That land they got somewhere. Cause I'm gonna look for my land.
Go look for your land. Let's
knows?
go get this back now. We had our 40 acres. Grandpa just bought them. They weren't given to him.
Yep.
So, well, it's been a pleasure, you guys.
Well, and thank you again.
You're most welcome.